Shut up and sit down.
You're my assistant, okay? You're supposed to back me up and go get me juice boxes when I tell you. Now go get me a juice box.
This is my exercise bike. It's got a lot of features that I like.
You are listening to the Dialed Podcast with Matt Legrand, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von Turing. Fun fact, one of the most important days of my life was when I learned to ride a bicycle.
Going faster than
I'm talking to the juice box guy. You're crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm just thirsty.
It's like I'm riding in the Tour de France, but it is mine.
Why don't you go to hell? No, you go to hell. While you're there, why don't you grab me a juice box?
Just test this.
I'm no juice box boy, I'll tell you that.
Got to the top, totally on my
See you later, juice box. Everyone wave goodbye to juice box.
and then formulated into a sports drink, which I personally adore. It's called Gorilla Gin. This is just my exercise bike.
Wow.
Yes, anyway, this is my super special, secret special bike.
Can I ride it?
No.
Hi, welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I'm Jake Von Turing, here with Lance friggin' Hepler.
Lance friggin' Hepler.
For your friggin' pleasure.
For your friggin' pleasure. Here I am. Let's go.
To his right, Sir Ian Gibson.
Greetings.
Great.
There it is. Trying to do it again.
There we are. Sir Ian Gibson.
And to Ian's right, last but not least, Mr. Matt Legrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? You guys look fan-freaking-tastic.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, made it here. Just took me a little bit longer than... I went home from practice, from cross-country practice, as opposed to coming straight here. So I am late, and I apologize. I would have totally just been like, well, let's get to work if Lance hadn't been like, hey.
Wait, are you coming?
Are you coming? Or
Get up here.
Is your head on your shoulders? Nope.
Hey, how about some backpedaling? Who wants to go first?
I'll be really quick. I've been doing all I've been doing is campus cross country all the time. It's like a lot of I get to run with the kids. I get to get some running in, but it's just that's it. I haven't been out biking very much. And then my kids had their state swim meet this weekend, and so running is the most convenient. Mm-hmm. So sorry,
just going
again. Am I allowed on the podcast?
You're fading, Matt.
I am totally.
Where's this? We need to get you on a bike.
I need to be on a bike.
Where are the state championship swimming trials going on?
So we, so because we're Southern Washington, the kids are part of the Oregon State Swimming Group, and they did their state meet in Gresham at the Mount Hood Community College pool, which is a very nice outdoor 50-meter pool. We're very lucky that we're close because we had the younger kids. They have another different state meet on a different weekend. We were at all of those.
Oh, jeez.
And that was in Albany, which is still not that bad of a drive. But yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, a lot of swimming, a lot of kids swimming stuff. And that's at least the state meets now. That's over, and so we should have a little bit of a breather. But then I'll be on vacation soon. So
sweet. Ian, you get to go next, and you did some bike racing as well.
Yeah, it was really good to be back out racing. Pinned the number on again, finally, Sunday at the Red R Criterium down in Poland. And it was good, but it ended prematurely for me. The race was not a success. I got affected by ugly crash in the field. Nasty. And anyway, I avoided it. Good news, didn't go down. But I slammed on my brakes so hard to avoid the crash that I wore a dime-size hole in my rear tire.
Wow, that's impressive.
wow.
I clipped back in and tried to rejoin the group, and I was like, that feels like I got a flat. And sure enough, there was just sealant everywhere, and my tire was shredded, and that was it.
You didn't have a wheel in neutral that you could swap out? Because you get 2 laps, if I'm not mistaken, that you can...
I think... there wasn't a pit there.
There was a pit.
Was there?
Yeah.
It's usually...
But you had to put your own wheel in it.
Yeah, it's wheels in, wheels out.
It was going fast.
Yeah.
Like, before we were 20 minutes in, and we were already averaging 27, which doesn't sound fast. I know we all just watched the Tour de France, so it doesn't seem fast. But for us old guys, it was moving at a good clip.
Lap 1 average was 31 miles an hour.
Ooh.
Lap 1. It was stupid.
Yeah, it was full on.
It was full on.
Anyway, it was good. I got to race with Lance freaking Hepler. He was also there.
Legendary. The legend.
The legend.
It's been an honor to be in his presence at all
Yes,
times.
always.
He knows that, though.
And then Tuesday, we were back at PIR, which was great. did 2 races, doubled up, did the Masters 50, 60s, and then went straight back to the start line and got in with the 3-4s. So I had fun.
Good job, dude.
Yeah.
Racing.
Nice racing.
Yep.
Yeah, so I was in the Red R Crit with Ian as well. Luckily, Ian avoided the crash. There was 2 guys that tangled wheels, like 2 bikes ahead of Ian, so he just barely avoided it. One guy rung his bell pretty good. He got a concussion. Another guy just lost a bunch of skin. And I was on the other side of the pack, so I luckily avoided it. I was doing the crit to try to get some bar points for the overall bar for the end of the year.
Which you've got to be doing really well, and you've had a good year.
Yeah, I've got like a 500-point lead, but we won't talk about the at this point. But I had to place at least 15th or better to get a bar point in my...
And you placed 150.
So in the 50... So the 35-plus-year-olds, the 50-plus, and the 60-plus, we all raced together. So, but we were scored separately. So each age division was scored separately, but we all raced together. And so, oh my gosh, with a lap to go, it was really quite fast. There was a bunch of 35-year-olds. But with a lap to go, I was sitting on the 2 fastest guys in the field. I was sitting on their wheels, and I thought, yes, this is exactly where I need to be.
Okay.
I'm in the right position. But nobody had teammates leading them out, so it slowed down to like 24 miles an hour, which doesn't seem slow, but in a crit, that's too slow. So it slowed down to like 24 miles an hour, and so we got swamped. And in the swamping, I just got
wrong wheel.
I got shuffled.
Yeah.
I couldn't stay on those wheels, and when it jacked back up, I just wasn't in the right spot. So I rolled across the line in second to last.
Oh no!
So it was like two more corners to go, and I just couldn't get back in the right position. Even though I had good legs, I felt really good. But that's crit racing. Sometimes you're just in the wrong
second
position.
to last?
12th.
Okay.
So I did get a point.
Now,
So-
are you going to do
So you
any
need-
more crits to try and get some more points? Because I know
Yes,
they've
he
got the
is.
Portland Criterium coming up.
Portland Criterium is the same weekend as the Steamboat Gravel Race I'm doing, so I'll be gone. But but Chris Horner is having a crit in Bend the week before that, and I think me and Ian are going to go do the crit in Bend.
Is that a weeknight or a weekend?
It's a weekend.
Okay.
It's a Saturday
And
night
that's
race.
Your best friend, Chris Horner. You guys are
My best friend, yeah.
My
That's
best
the
friend.
Masters crit championships
Yeah.
for Oregon.
Yeah, Obra
And
has
so
the
you'll get double bar points.
Yeah. So not that I really need more bar points, because in that race there'll be a lot more people there, and getting in the top 15 will actually be very difficult.
Do you think that'll be that
Yes.
populated? I mean,
Yes.
it's a little bit of a drive to get down there, so you're not going to have like the
but-
Portland proper people. Like,
No, but people are coming from Bend, and like Steve Remy's coming up from California, and I'm
Oh,
not
wow.
beating that guy.
yeah.
You know,
I've raced crits in Bend before, and there's some hitters there.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. Not to take anything away from those guys down there, because there's some strong dudes down that way. But I'm just thinking, like, are the numbers going to be that elevator that high? If
It might
we're
be.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll
Hopefully
see.
they will, because I want to see that be
It'd be cool to bring that race back. Yeah.
good for Horner too.
So anyway, luckily I didn't crash. I didn't hurt myself. I only did the one race and then bailed, so that was good. Then we had short track racing, mountain bike short track racing on Monday night.
Short track.
Short
That
track.
was a tribute to short track.
Weather was perfect. New course this week. They actually gave us 50 and 60-year-olds our own start, which was great.
yeah.
So I
Booyah.
wasn't having to.
They call it the Grandpa Edition.
That's right.
And you guys use your walkers
That's right.
with a little tennis ball on there, so
That's right.
it slides.
You can throw it for the
Yes.
dog to chase after and take out people's
No,
wheels.
the tennis ball on your walker. You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Okay.
So the short track race, because we had our own start, I wasn't like battling with 30 other 40-year-olds or under 40-year-olds in order to get that whole shot. And so, I don't know, that race went well for me. I did not get the whole shot, but I wasn't really trying to. I was trying to just get myself in a good position for the rest of the race. Only like a 40-minute race, but I passed the leader at like halfway through the first lap and pulled away for like a minute and a half. So I ended up winning that race, which was fantastic. And,
Nice work.
And caught most of the 40-year-olds in the race too. I had a good time. So short track racing was really fun. My legs are feeling good. It's all good. Tuesday we went out for our gravel ride, and
Hammerfest.
it was a hammerfest with some good guys that showed up. It wasn't quite as hard as the week before, but man, I put up some good power numbers on Tuesday night, some really good numbers. So I'm excited.
So you went hard this week with racing, you went hard, and then there was also the ride that you went hard.
Yes.
And there's another ride that you went hard.
So I raced Sunday.
Hard.
I raced Sunday. I raced Monday. Did the gravel ride Tuesday. What day is today?
Thursday.
It's Thursday. Yesterday I took it easy. I went and did I did the course build up at Washougal. So our final
You might be more sore from that than anything else.
Yeah, so I swung like a shovel and a tamper for like 4 hours yesterday. Yeah, so trying to build berms and like dig out, trying to just improve the course. So I did that for several hours and then rode a couple laps of the course yesterday, which was really good. So no, I'm feeling good. I'm hoping to race really well this Saturday and Sunday. We've got a short track race coming up on Saturday at Washougal, and then Sunday XC race where I'm going full hog on that one. So we'll see how it goes. That's it.
Job, dude.
Thanks, Jake.
You guys been backpedaling for us. You've been riding.
He has been.
I have been. Yep. I did not race because I'm not quite there yet, but I did get in over 11 hours last week. So that's something. So gosh, what did we do last week? We did the Tuesday night gravel ride, which was fun and felt pretty good on that and was able to mostly stick with everybody. Did it again this past week too, and it still felt pretty good. The flogging ride, I still rode with the B group, but I was still at the pointy end of that the whole way up to the school and back home. When we rode back to the start, I was able to hang with A's. So I think I'm getting pretty close to maybe jumping back in with those guys.
Jake's riding well.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been again. I don't put a lot of stock in this. I've probably mentioned this before, and I've talked to Lance about it a few times. But you get your little for the Strava Premium. You get your fitness number in terms of where you're at. It's kind of like your training load that you get on Training Peaks. And let's see here. I was at 1 when I got started. I had a whopping 1 point on that.
1.
And I think like before I got hurt, I was like close to 80. And it's been higher than that before in the past. But I'm usually kind of floating around 70 on that just based on the volume that I do. So as of today, I think I'm at 52, which we're getting there. It's creeping back, and it's kind of funny.
It's like 5 weeks. You went from 1 to 52.
Yeah, I've just been consistently trying to build.
gosh.
So I think
Next week he's going to be at 107.
Right.
Okay, Lance. So watch your back.
Starting to see some decent power numbers, and my overall just general feeling on the bike is getting better. I don't feel like I'm dying quite as much, and I can actually like do some pulls at the front. So it's just slow building. It's one foot after the other, just like, just crawl before you walk and then walk before you run. And I'm kind of in that walking, almost ready to start running phase. So we'll see.
Okay, halfway through the gravel ride on Tuesday night, we get to the end of the Washougal Dike, and we kind of have a sprint out there. It's kind of halfway through the ride.
And these jokers set me up to be on the front for this.
He did set you up so that you would be on the front. Jake still sprinted away from us on the gravel, chucking rooster tails off his rear wheel. I'm not kidding. Gravel was flying up in the air because he was putting down so many watts on this final sprint. I just like shook my head like,
Dang.
Yeah, it was impressive. Jake's rooster tailing on the gravel. So
hopefully you didn't hear my motor making noises. It was really nice to see Terry Hamness out there too.
We did run into Terry.
Yeah,
at
it was
the
kind of
end.
cool. Like I remember kind of coming around and you hang this like subtle left, and then you can see the fence. I'm like, oh, there's a cyclist at the end there, and he wasn't wearing his kit. I think he was wearing like a black jersey, but he had his shorts on, but you can't tell.
Yeah.
Anyway, long story short, like we're out of the thing and out of the saddle, and like he could see us coming from a long ways away. He's like, yeah, I saw this big plume of like dust, you guys flying down the dike, and I'm in full sprint mode. I'm like, there's a guy there. I can't come into this too hot, so kind of braked up, and I looked. He's like, hey guys. I'm like, oh, it's Terry.
Terry.
Yeah, so it was nice to see him.
We both jumped off our bikes and gave him a hug right away. It was really good to see Terry. So.
Good dude right there. But anyway, yep, just riding bikes. We'll see. I don't think I'm going to do any cyclocross. I don't know if I'll be fit enough to do any kind of racing that might still be lingering on the calendar for the year, but it's sure nice to be able to go out. Oh, the one last thing that we went out and did ride, but it was my first proper gravel ride that I've done in
that's
a year
right.
and
We did that.
a couple months, if I'm not mistaken. We went out and rode. It was only 32 miles, but it was like 4,400 feet of climbing or something like
Yes.
that. You know, you've got 3 really long sustained climbs, and that's something I haven't really worked up to yet. So it was nice to be out and go do like a 2-mile climb, a 4-mile climb, and I think it was like a 2.5 or 3-mile climb. And that went really well. So I was happy about that as well. And just kind of like another one of those votes of confidence for yourself where you can start going out and doing more of that as well. So,
PIL, still 3 weeks left.
yeah,
You can just sit in.
we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Anywho, all right. That's enough. I don't think I need to chat about myself anymore. Let's
Here comes Champ Bailey, dropping cycling news.
you gonna drop some cycling news on us,
Cycling
champion?
news champ here. We finished the Tour de France on
Yeah,
Sunday.
buddy.
It was super fun to watch. Kind of ridiculously, Pogačar won another stage. He wins the final time trial by a full minute, and it,
Don't be suspicious. Don't be
That's right.
suspicious.
It was pretty crazy that he put another minute into everybody else, and he ended up winning by over 6.5 minutes, I think. And where was Vingegaard was?
It's simple. All you have to do is cool down on your time trial bike, and then you'll put a minute into the best time trialers in the world. It's simple,
I can't
Lance.
believe that he did that. I mean Vingegaard went full gas as hard as he possibly could go, and Pogačar still beat him by a minute.
If we're going to be suspicious, we should be suspicious of Vingegaard, who was just in the hospital like the day before the tour. They let him out. They gave him his little hospital handbag, and it was like some serious PEDs. And then they're like, and get on the bike and head on over to Italy where you're going to start the tour.
Right.
And he's like, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I'll
fine.
also be one of the best time trialists at the end of the 3 weeks of training that I've done. The 3 weeks being the racing.
Right. Yeah, so
There's lots to be suspicious about.
He came on pretty strong. Vingegaard came on pretty strong. He actually did pretty well, but man, Pogačar just ruled that thing. It was pretty impressive to see, and just happy-go-lucky and fun and good about it. But man, it seems like he put a target on his back with how good he was. It was, of course. Last year he went in recovering from that wrist injury,
Yep.
and this year he had a full, all this good training, and then just won the Giro by 10 minutes or something.
Yeah.
He won this
It was
by
10 minutes.
6.
6 in this one. Yeah.
And Evan Poole, who did fantastic, Remco showed up, man.
Remco had we should mention that he had a good. I mean, a lot of us have kind of written him off as being like, well, 3 weeks is a long time for him, but he did great.
He did great. He was 9 minutes back, but he'll still did.
As
great.
we joke about the big six, like, yeah, he should be considered in the one of the big names of the sport.
I think Pogačar's team as well.
100%.
They were
They were-
so good.
It really
so
comes
strong.
And if you think about it, like
Alameda, Yates,
Yeah.
and they
they-
were both in the top 6.
Yeah.
if you think about it, last year Jumbo-Visma was the team.
Yes.
And this year UAE is the team. And it
Yes.
kind of makes you think like it really does take a team to differentiate yourself between like the top couple of guys,
Right.
having like that team of superstars around you, like not just domestique, like super domestiques. Like that's kind of what's needed at this point. You need a guy that can finish really in the top, definitely in the top 10 to help you. That's crazy.
And Jonas had that with Matteo, who
Yep.
ended up 8th.
Yep.
Yeah.
He
And-
was 8th, 26 minutes back.
Yeah.
And
he had
no Sepp Kuss.
He had Sepp Kuss last year when
Yes.
he won, and everyone else the whole team was firing
So
on all
would you
cylinders last
Say
year.
that the results would have been different if Sepp did not get COVID and Jonas didn't have the crash and get hurt.
Yes. What would have been different?
It would have been closer.
It would have been a
It
different-
would have been
Totally
closer,
different.
but
It
do
would
you
have
think
been totally
do you
different
think it
race.
would have been different?
I think the crash is probably the biggest thing. No offense. I mean, we all love Sepp Kuss. We're like team Sepp Kuss here for sure, but still, I don't think that he would have been the differentiating factor. It's the crash.
The crash, 100%. I agree with you.
But if those two
but I
things
also
didn't
don't-
happen,
then we would have been. I think we would have had a race.
would have been a battle. Would have been a
Which
battle between
comes
those
to
two.
my hot seat question: You guys want to hear my hot seat question?
Are we going there already? Do you guys want to get into that?
There's nothing else.
Okay, so
Nothing else? All right,
hot seat question.
Hot
Jump
seat.
into this.
We're
Hot-
jumping in.
Hot seat question. Was the tour boring this year?
That's hot. That's hot. That's hot. That's hot.
Yeah, right. Perfect timing on that.
That's hot, dude.
Was the tour boring this year? Now I want you guys to think about it because I'm making the argument that yeah, it was boring. It's very hard for us to think of it as boring when we were all on the edge of our seats and we enjoyed every stage and we loved watching it because we did. But if you really think about it, the competition was over like midweek two. Midweek two. I mean,
No,
like
day 3.
If-
Took
I mean,
the yellow jersey.
If the yellow jersey was the only competition, you're right. It was.
No, but
it was all over.
But the polka dot jersey is bogus. We all know that. Green jersey was good.
that was a
until-
battle to the end.
The polka
Well,
dot was
only-
actually kind of a battle down to the end too, though. I mean, I know that you don't like it. It's usually won by one of the GC guys, and it was kind of cool to see Carapaz be able to pull
be
that
able
off.
to pull it off.
Yeah.
And there was like a lot of history there. First time for someone from Ecuador that's won it, and there, I mean,
First time for EF as well.
first time for EF, which is really cool. I always feel like that's a throwaway.
I think in the first week of the tour, when they're not in the high mountains, it usually goes to somebody unexpected, and then it's really a breakaway jersey. Like that guy
Right.
gets in the breakaway every day, which is hard enough in itself.
With
And
Jonas
then-
Abrahamson was that guy. He was
Yes.
in all these breakaways.
It was in all of them.
But then when it comes to the mountain tops, to the KOMs, everybody usually gives it to that guy. There's no,
right.
they gift it to him. So
which
it's a
kinda
bit
like
bogus
Tadej.
in that way, I guess.
I don't know if they give it to him or if Tadej could have.
No, but I mean, within the breakaway, if the polka dot jersey is in the breakaway, nobody is going to
Sprint for the points.
sprint
and
for
stuff.
them. Although Michael Matthews did, right?
He
That was
did.
weird.
That was probably frowned
I don't know.
upon. That was probably a weird. That was a weird moment in time.
But I think aside from the yellow jersey, which was obvious how that was going to turn out early in the race, but there was some good stories in there. There was a whole Cavendish thing.
Cavendish, yeah.
There
he
was
finished?
Viniam
And he
Gamay getting the
finished.
green. That was great. I thought Carapaz was raced really well. That was a good story.
So your vote is like no. This was. Not
I think it was a
boring
good. It was a fun race.
tour. Not boring.
No,
There was no Mont Ventoux.
No.
There was no Alpe d'Huez.
No.
Like
yeah.
this is a boring state. This is a boring tour.
Okay, I was wildly entertained every
course,
day.
yeah.
I woke up, went down, and watched the stage every single
Me
day.
too. It was
I
great.
just
Loved
I
it.
wanted to see it. I wanted to see what was happening.
Yeah.
Even those last 2 stages, big mountain stages, where you thought that
Matteo Jorgens-
Pogača was gonna like let the breakaway win, and he still freaking pulled him back on the final climb.
watching him chase.
both days. He just chased.
Watching him chase was awesome.
It was amazing.
And you're like, oh, can he make that? Like it's gonna be like down to the wire. It was it was fun.
He still makes it.
He still makes it.
Heartbreak for Matteo Jorgensen, who was almost going to win the stage on stage 19, I think it was. He was
Tadej ran
in
him
the
down.
lead, and Tadej ran him down, and Matteo was only 12 seconds back or 19 seconds back or something.
How's that for?
They're like
Timing.
already in the climb, and there was a point in time where he was pretty far up the road. It was, I think he had like 2.5 minutes on him, roughly, give or take a few seconds.
Yeah.
And like he might be able to hold off. I mean, 2.5 minutes is a lot to cover on this long climb. Nope. Not
just
only did he pass him,
drilled
but he drilled it by him. But he passed him, and still there was a long ways to go, a relatively long ways considering, and destroyed Matteo on that.
And he didn't he attacked when he caught to him. He didn't just stay with his
Yeah, he's like, you're not
effort.
going to jump on my wheel.
He jumped hard so we would go by him fast. Yeah, it was
Insane.
It was heartbreak.
yeah, it wasn't heartbreak. You wanted to see Matteo
I think
win.
that was wasn't that the stage where Remco attacked in the GC group, and so
I think so. But he only
he tried, but it didn't really last,
it
right?
didn't.
right. But at that point, I think Pogača had no choice but to go.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Correct.
I mean, I found the tour to be entertaining. There was a point in time there where everybody started to second guess whether or not Tadej was going to, be as superhuman as he actually is when Jonas out sprint him to the line. You don't see that.
That was
often.
a cool stage.
That was a
Yes.
great stage,
That was
and
probably one of
everybody
the cool
starts to
stages.
say like, "Oh,
Maybe
okay,
he's
this is a different
cracking.
tour." And for me, it's just, I don't know. When I looked at that, I'm like, "All right, that's going to be his one stage that we'll say he kind of cracked. He looked like he was off. I mean, he was missing nutrition or something, and he just didn't have it. He actually was out of the saddle and had to sit back down at some point in time, and then he got pipped at the line. I was not expecting that, and I'm like, okay, this is gonna make things interesting, but I still don't think that Jonas has got the firepower to come back in and match that. The fact of the matter is, Tadej showed who was the most supreme cyclist in the world, and went absolutely bonkers. And personally, I loved the fact that he went out and won as many stages as he could and didn't hand things over to people. No freebies. If you have an opportunity to win a stage at the Tour de France, I don't care who's crying or belly aching about him not sharing or letting other people. If you're the best person, you go win every single stage, because there's going to be a point in time where you can't.
You should be embarrassed to be like, oh, he shouldn't win all these stages. He should give some stages. Don't be that guy.
People don't want gifts.
Yeah.
Don't want to be. Yeah. Don't be the guy that's whining for gifted stages.
But it was definitely entertaining racing. You know, there was attacks from the GC group every day. There was aggressive racing. There was, I mean, compare that to sort of 10 years ago when Bradley Wiggins or Chris Froome were winning.
Those
and you
were
had
boring
the
to me.
entire Ineos team or the
they
Sky
set it up.
team would just sit on the front at a certain pace, and that was it.
It's just
Look
like
at
early
the
in the
stem.
stage, Froome's up by 4, 5, 6 minutes or something like that, and that was what it was to the end,
And
and
they
it
just controlled
controlled
the race.
everything.
Do you guys think that 5 years from now, when we're looking back at this tour, they'll be like, yeah, that was a boring tour?
No, I don't think so. Not personally.
No.
No.
I'm the only one that I'm going out on a limb here, and I'm going to say I loved watching it, just like you guys. I every morning got up, watched it, but I think that we're going to look back on this and be like, yeah, this was not a great tour. I mean, like competitiveness wise,
Right.
I also, as much as I wanted to like the time trial is only good when things are close. And it was not close.
No.
And all the
That was
major
anticlimactic.
all the
was.
major standings were the same, and it would have been beautiful to go into Paris. And I think it would have been even especially more beautiful, like going into Paris with it all set up for the Olympics. I think it could have been. I think logistically, I'm sure it would have been impossible or a nightmare or whatever. But dang, it could have been neat if they'd done that, like with the lights on the Eiffel Tower with the Olympic stuff going on. It could have been.
There's
really neat.
a week difference.
Yep.
What do you think the biggest problem is with having a week difference? I mean, if you're going to
hotel rooms.
is it hotel
Is that what
rooms?
it
That's
is?
my guess.
But who sticks around a week after the Tour de France?
It's all the people who are coming. So all the Olympic athletes or all the spectators who were coming to watch the Olympics. I don't know. Would they come a whole week early? They might.
You would.
Yeah.
not
I'm gonna
if
go.
not if the hotels were already sold out from the tour.
Maybe it's security. I mean, both of those
good
events
question.
are.
Well, it just basically makes the Olympics 4 weeks long instead of 3.
Yes.
So I don't know. I mean,
It could have been really cool, but I'm sure there was some infrastructure problem that Paris was like,
Paris mayor and
No.
Hidalgo.
can't do both.
Do it, Paris. Do it. Do it, mayor.
Well,
Do it.
that ship has sailed. That's never
I know,
going to
I'm
happen
joking.
again.
Yeah.
But it was a noble idea to have that time trial on the last day. Shake it up. I mean, the last time back in '89 when they had a time trial on the final stage, it was a nail biter.
It came down to that was it.
one of the most exciting finishes ever.
Yeah. That's what, and I was looking forward to
Drama.
before the tour had started at all. Then I was like, wow, the time trial at the end, I'm really looking forward to this. I don't care about the sprint stage in Paris and all this stuff. Looking back, I'm like, I'm second guessing that.
Well, the way it worked out, it was very anticlimactic. It was
should have done an omnium. Get off the TT
Yeah, you
bikes
can.
and go do a crit. That would've
Right.
been rad.
They should have done a triathlon, had them swim, get in there, some running.
Maybe.
Who's the best? Who's the best athlete here?
Chris Froome's like, get me back in there, boys.
Froomey.
Got this.
No doubt.
That's a good question, Matt. I like that.
All right, well,
So we all disagree with you, but it's a good question.
it's a hot seat question.
Yeah. Mr. Ian Gibson, what is your hot seat question, my friend?
my question. Well, let's bring racing back to something that we can probably more relate to, I guess, at our level, amateur racing. My question, perhaps rhetorical in nature, is: does racing get easier as you get older?
I like this question a lot. because-
So hot.
So
you
hot.
gotta listen naked.
Let me take my pants off.
hot,
Hold
yeah.
on.
Hold up.
What I mean is, so I've been there where you're reaching the very last years of your racing bracket. So you're in the 40s and you're 49. And you're like, oh, these guys that are just turning 40 are just crushing me. Next year, I'm going to be the youngest one out there, and it's going to be my turn. And you get there, and nope, it's even faster, even harder. So,
my experience is that the older you get in these races, the people that are left are all the serious people. You just, as you get older, the fields get smaller, but everybody's freaking fast. Everybody's fast because all the dabblers kind of fade out, and all the people who are like trying to take it seriously are all still there. So it does not get easier.
And a lot of times they get to a station in life too, or that station in life where you've got more disposable income, so you're going to have better equipment. You're going to have a little bit more free time because hopefully you've set your schedule up to where you're not grinding 9 to 5, Monday through Friday and all that, and then some. And then you're crafty. You have racecraft that you don't necessarily see at some of the younger age levels that they don't acquire until they get to be that age. So it does make for a dynamic that's
definitely. And also, like, you're at that point in your life, a lot of people are that kids are older, you've got more time that you can devote to yourself, and you can be more selfish about your training. And I mean, it definitely does not get easier, in my opinion. Let me give you an example, or a couple of examples. This crit we were talking about earlier on this week, I mean, I think once again the 50 plus, or the Masters race, was probably the fastest, aside from the Open,
the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 race,
Pro 1, 2, 3, or whatever it is. The Masters racing was fast. You had the 31 mile an hour lap. I mean, that's not really old man's territory.
Our average speed for the whole race was
27 something,
right around 27, and we had 2 neutral laps after the crash.
Yeah.
So there was a crash, and because they actually had to bring emergency services onto the course. So there were two neutral laps where we were doing 19 miles an hour. Everybody completely recovered.
Yeah.
So, well, maybe not.
And then here's another example. So Tuesday, looked at my normalized power for the Masters 50 plus and 60 plus race, 346. So as a comparison, the next race I did, the Open category 3-4, 3-4, but still, my normalized power was something like 270. So way harder. So you could say, well, Ian, you probably need to calibrate your power meter.
No, just believe it.
But it was the same night, right, under the same conditions. There was an 80 watts difference there. The old guy's race was shorter, but
it was only like 30 minutes or something like
yeah,
that.
Yeah, it wasn't much, but still, anyway, it was super intense. So
plus all the guys that are in the race, so the Masters race was 50-year-olds and 60-year-olds.
Yeah.
So, but all the guys that are showing up at PIR that are in the 50s and 60s, they're freaking hitters.
Yes. Yeah.
They are fast.
Yeah.
I think I can go in and I can hang on this wheel, and I'm barely hanging on the wheel when it really ramps up. So
Masters racing, it also a lot of times there's no categories either, so you're there with Masters,
all the 1s and the 2s that are still.
And a lot of those guys are Masters now because they've had a whole lifetime of racing.
Yes,
they're fast.
So I was thinking about this question in a slightly different perspective, I guess. I coach a ton of high school athletes, and they're brand new to, even the ones that are experienced have got 4 years of racing or whatever it is. And I think that the older you get, the easier racing gets, in a way where when these kids are brand new, they don't know how to race. They're freaked out. Sometimes they're crying on the starting line. Sometimes they're going out as hard as they can and just falling apart, walking at the the middle of the race. And these are just miserable experiences for these people.
Yeah.
And as you get to be like our age, like you just have more confidence. You know how to race. You know how to like go and be at an event and handle yourself. And all of that experience just for me makes racing easier and the experience better. And it also is one of those things where it's like, it's not a big deal. It's not the end of the world if you don't have a great race or whatever it is. Like you just have enough experience to say to yourself, like, this is just a fun thing that I'm doing. And I think it makes things significantly easier overall. So I think, yes, if we're talking about like, does it get easier as you age up? Maybe the answer is no to that. But also I do think that like being one of the experienced athletes has huge benefits. So I don't know. I think it's kind of a different way to take the question. But I was thinking when you originally asked, like, oh yeah, absolutely, it gets easier when you get older.
No, I understand where you're coming from. I know when I first started racing, 10 years ago or so,
it was probably miserable, right? Some of those races.
I was stressed out. Like,
oh yeah,
there's less anxiety.
Less
about
anxiety,
it now.
and you're right. You're not. You don't care as much about results. I don't think it doesn't.
But that allows you to relax and race better and all these things where I'm like, oh, how do I get these new athletes to get to this point? And they, they'll race for 4 years and not get there.
But I think the point I was trying to make was it physically, it's harder and it's just fast.
Yes.
Old people, old guys just don't seem to slow down. Like it just brings up that often used quote by Greg LeMond, right? It never gets easier. You just get faster. Just go faster, and that's that's how it seems.
The short track race on Monday night, the 50 to 59-year-old field was the largest by far.
Really?
It was 31 racers in that field, in the Cat 2 50 to 59 field. I think the next biggest field was like 15. So
you can see how it happens. I mean, I remember in my 40s, I had kids late, right? We had our first kid when I was 39. And so my 40s were really kind of a lost decade as far as my fitness goes. It was challenging times, but fun in other ways. But as far as being able to devote time and energy to your own training and your own selfish goals, it just wasn't happening.
Yeah, right.
It's kind of neat though to think that when you're younger, let's say you're in your teens or your early 20s, and then you think about somebody that's in their 50s or 60s, you've just got this mental image of somebody who's overweight, they're breaking down, they're dealing with disease, they don't have the capacity to do highly athletic things. And then you get into the sport of cycling, and then you start to kind of peel back the curtain and take a look behind the scenes to see what's going on. You're like, wow, I was completely wrong. There's these guys in their 40s, their 50s, their 60s that are still super fast. And then you get out there, mix it up with them. You're like, holy crap, these guys are fast. So it's just a great testament to the sport that you can do it for a long time. You can be competitive for a long time. And we always talk about you. You're timeless, Ian. We go on these long, hard team rides, and Ian's right in there mixing it up. And we've got people that are in their 20s and their 30s and their 40s going, who is this guy? Or they obviously, if they're new to the team, or they're always just saying, yep, that's Ian. He's just out there. He's full of piss and vinegar, and he puts down a lot of watts, and he'll beat you to that stop head sign if you're not paying attention.
Or they think you're 40.
Yeah,
which is like.
But it does. As the years go on, it definitely takes more of a toll on you. Like yesterday, I was so tired, sleepy, tired, just had no energy. And I'm like, why is that? Oh, yeah, I was racing yesterday.
Yeah.
Busted my ass racing.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
That's a good one.
Good question. Good question.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, should we move on to the next one? Hepler, do you want to go next?
I'm ready to go.
You got anything?
Yes,
Go for
I
it,
do.
dude. Anything hot?
Who is your favorite for the Olympic
road
road
that was
race?
like my other question.
And
that I
do
had.
we even care?
Oh God, here it comes!
yeah.
Oh, hot, 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 hot!
That was my other question. I'm glad I didn't ask that one.
Oh, hold on.
Who are the contenders?
I think Tadej's got to be a favorite. He
Tadej is
dropped
not
out.
going.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought he was.
He
I
is
thought he
not.
talked about it.
Also interesting. He finished the Tour de France, and then pulled out. Or he denied his spot for the Olympics, and he also said he's not doing the Vuelta. So interestingly enough, Pogačar said that he really only has 3 big goals left for his cycling career. He wants to win a world championship. He wants to win a Vuelta at some point, so he's won all 3 Grand Tours. And he wants to win Paris-Roubaix. Yeah.
So, do you have a start list of some of the
I don't
odds-on
have a full
favorites?
start list, but Vanderpool is a favorite.
Remco's out.
Remco.
Oh wait, no, Remco's in.
Remco's doing it.
Wout's there.
Wout's there.
I haven't even seen the parkour. Is it hilly or mountainous or flat or?
It is hilly. It's 170 miles.
Ooh.
It's a 275-mile race, several circuits around Paris.
275K, you mean?
Yeah, 275K. Yep.
Primoz
And
Roglic
170
is
So
miles.
it's like
That's what I was
it's a
thinking. Roglic-
classic, really. It's like a.
It's like a
He
classic.
broke a bone in his back.
Back, from that tour crash, yeah.
Yep. So Roglic is out
And-
of the
and out of the
Olympics.
Vuelta.
Maybe the Vuelta.
Okay.
So
Yee.
it's a big, long race. Who are you guys thinking?
I really,
Thinking Wout. I'm thinking Pitcock. I'm thinking Van der Poel.
Remco.
if I had to take one, I'm going to take Van der Poel. I mean, he had
That's a good guess.
incredible spring again. He didn't overly exert himself at the tour, and he was kind of using that as training.
I think that was by design.
By design, and I would love to say Wout, but I still think that Wout's trying to get himself back into fitness and
Wout
shape and get himself completely healthy.
He didn't look like himself at the
No.
at the
Yeah.
At the tour, yeah.
didn't look
Second
himself.
twice, third twice. So not bad.
Not bad.
Who else? I mean, Tadej out of the picture. Who else are you going to take in a one-day race besides Van der Poel?
Yeah, it's hard to pick.
So that's my point. That's my pick right there.
Or
Yeah.
Remco.
no,
No,
No.
I think Remco could.
You think Van der Poel got Remco's number
oh yeah.
in a 170-mile race?
Oh, yeah.
That's a
It's not
long
the
way to go.
distance.
I don't think he
just
has the
worry
same
about
punch.
how much climbing there is for Van der Poel.
Yeah, we need to know climbing details because, I mean, MVP didn't look unbelievable at the tour either. He was in a lot of breakaways. He did some lead outs, but I think he wanted a stage or two, and I don't think he really.
No, he was a little bit disappointed with that in an article that I read.
Did you?
But
Okay.
at the same time, I think that he knows that there was other people that were going to make that really difficult for him, and I think he also knows that he wants to go be competitive at the Olympics.
He knows how to race one-day races. That's for sure.
very well. And even if it does have a little bit of climbing, I'm still going to throw his name in there. I mean, it's unless it finishes on like a super long hilltop finish.
It does not. It goes up Montmartre 10 kilometers before the finish, back down, finishes flat. So it is. There is plenty of climbing, but it finishes on a flat stretch.
Who are you taking, Lance?
I would take Van der Poel too.
Ian?
Pitcock.
Pitcock. Matt?
Well, I don't know. Remco Evenepoel. I don't know. He'd have to have like a break. He'd have to break away somehow. He's not going to win in a sprint.
He's not going to win.
And we know for sure that Remco's going to be there, right? Do we have any kind of start list yet?
No, we don't have a full start list yet. We're recording this on a Thursday. The opening ceremonies for the Olympics are on Friday.
Right.
The time trial is on Saturday for both the men and the women.
Right out the gate.
Right out the gate. Time trial is on Saturday or Sunday, I think. And then the road race isn't until the next weekend, August 3rd and 4th. The women are on one day, and the men are on Saturday. The women are on Sunday.
I think
All right.
triathlon
So we've got a
stuff's
week.
early on too.
Yeah.
They're supposed to swim in the Seine River.
Oh, yeah.
What women are going? Any notable names? I'm sure there's notable names, but anybody you can think of off the top of your head?
Lotte Kopecky.
Uh-huh.
She's like the
We've got
Demi
some...
Vollering is
Yeah.
going. Lotte Kopecky. Those are the two big names.
Chloe
Chloe Dygert.
Dygert, yep.
Yep. Chloe Dygert's going in the track and on
Wow.
the at the time trial.
Yeah.
When are the
Should be
track
tough to
races?
beat at the time trial, to be honest with you.
I wonder what the. Yeah, I mean, none of us have the schedule right in front of us, so it's kind of hard to riddle off all the
Track
different.
is all
The second
week.
week? Oh,
it's,
first week?
It's August. Ooh, no, it's not till August 5th. It's 6th. It's the third week.
Gotcha.
That's good.
And are the Olympics on Peacock this year?
Yes.
Gotcha.
It's on Peacock. So some of the big events will be on regular NBC, but every event I think will be on Peacock.
I'm guessing the opening ceremonies will be live on Peacock, and they'll be in the afternoon for us and
Yeah.
nighttime for Paris.
Sure.
So Friday afternoon,
Yeah, something like that.
you guys turn it on.
The mountain bike races are on this Saturday and this Sunday.
Wow.
Yeah, August 28th, July 28th for the women and July 29th for the men. So, and we have some good athletes in the mountain bike too.
Pitcock going to race the mountain bike?
I think so.
Okay. He's going to be tough to beat.
He's going to be tough to beat.
Sure.
He's showed up at the World Cup races and just wiped the field.
Yeah.
Not super easy, but he has won with
I wonder how recovery is going from the tour, because that was
a lot.
just last week.
He pulled out.
He pulled out with
Earlier.
COVID.
Oh.
He had COVID. He pulled out with COVID.
Well, all the guys started wearing masks. I didn't realize
Yeah.
that was like
It was
all
thing.
part of
Even Geraint Thomas got COVID, but still finished the race.
There was quite a few people that had it and continued to race, and they weren't
Wow.
told that they had to leave. So anyway,
Yeah, all new rules with COVID these days.
Yeah.
Do we care about the Olympics? Is that a big deal?
Oh, hell yeah.
It's not as big as the Tour de France, but it's the Olympics.
The Olympics
It's
are
still a
fun.
big deal.
Yeah.
Is that a bigger deal? So to the cyclists, is that a bigger deal, or is the World Championships a bigger deal?
I think
I would rather have a world championship, but
Yeah, you get to wear a jersey all year
yeah.
long.
But a gold medal, I mean, that
It's
only comes
just
around
a
every 4
weird,
years.
Weird thing if you're a pro cyclist and then you end up on like your national team
Yeah.
riding against your teammates.
Yeah.
yeah, it is
that are on
weird.
another different national team, and how much time have you been able to spend with those teammates to
Like next to
prepare?
none,
Especially if you're doing the
Wout
Tour de
Van Aert
France.
and Remco have been reconning the time trial course together because they're teammates for Belgium, but
Yeah.
but they're on opposite regular teams. Yeah.
Wow.
That does create kind of a crazy dynamic. If you think about the road race, I mean, like Remco's not going
Who's
to work
gonna
for
work
Wout.
for
Wout's not
who,
going to work
yeah.
for Remco. So it's just kind of like a
Right.
And
But
who,
if you're
who
doing
wants
the-
to go all the way to the Olympics, chance of a lifetime, and work for somebody else? That's
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It
Time
makes
trial
it complicated.
Time trial makes a lot more sense. Where it's just like, hey, we can go scout this together, and we're just going to work
Oh,
hard.
it's just
And
kinda
both
like-
of those guys would be heavy favorites for a medal for sure.
it's got to be a
Both
little
Wout
bit
and
like
Remco.
a typical race. If you get into a break and you've got other people who are not your teammates, they're kind of an ally during that process. And that's probably what's going to end up happening if those two guys were to get in a break. Let's work together to create that separation. And then it's like mano a mano when it comes down to, the end of the race.
Interesting. 4 years ago, Carapaz won the gold medal. Wout was second. Pogacar was third. So Pogacar's not there. Is Carapaz going? I don't know if he's going or not.
Hope so.
I don't know if
We have to have a special tour, not tour, but Olympics podcast.
Olympic edition.
And get all of our facts in check here and actually bring some.
That's why it was a hot
valid
seat. I'm like, oh, this,
That's
I
hot.
don't, I don't know
still
anything.
next week. The road race will still not have happened. right?
Correct.
So we can do a more professional version.
There you go.
Yes, we could.
Very professional. I mean, this is a Dial podcast.
But the time trial will have
Respect
happened
professional.
and the mountain bike races will have happened.
Okay.
Gotcha. All right. My hot seat's going to be a little bit different than the norm. This is going to be one of those things where you have to change my mind, but you get to pick and choose your own adventure. So I've got 3 statements that I'm going to make. You get to pick which one you want, and you have to change my mind. The first one, Tadej Pogacar is 100% clean. I'm standing by that statement. Change my mind. The second one is Tadej will pass Cavendish and beat him within the next 4, maybe 5 years for the total number of stage wins to hold the all-time record. That will happen. Change my mind.
Oh,
The
man.
last one
These
is
are all easy.
radios need to be outlawed, banned, removed from pro bike racing. Change my mind.
Never gonna happen. Okay, let's start with the last one because that's the one you just said.
Oh, you're going to answer all 3 of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Radios are never getting banned because they have to relay information to these riders about upcoming emergencies, all kinds of stuff that's changing on the fly, which is very critical.
Okay,
for-
so what if they had radios, but only race director could talk to them and say, there is a crash coming up, or you need to be careful of this turn?
careful
or-
of this, or the course change, or there's an avalanche.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff. I mean, I like the idea of, if you guys probably noticed this a little bit, if you guys watched a lot of the tour, being able to listen in on the teammates and having like listening to their discussion. I find that very interesting.
Well, 2 teams opted out of that.
That was probably smart. I mean, a smart team.
Lisa Bike and Ineos, if I'm not mistaken, were the 2 teams that said, we're not going to provide our race radio to broadcast
broadcast.
anymore.
But it's super interesting to hear. So I like the idea of that, and I want to go the opposite direction, which is provide viewers even more information. Yeah, you can listen to team radios. You could, like if you're doing this on the computer, you could switch between radios to listen to. I would love to know power numbers.
I want to see power
I want
numbers,
to know power
heart rate
numbers on the time, like live as it's going. I would love to have like a course map that's 3D that you can kind of like follow and see where they are, as opposed to like when the hills are coming and stuff like that. The way that things are broadcast now is fine. We can do better in the age of the internet that we're living in right now.
So given what you just said, I would agree. If you want to have race radio, then it's got to be open band for everybody to listen to, or it's no radio at all. Like you can't have your own closed channels.
Did
where
I change your mind?
Yeah. Well, if it was open for everybody to listen to and everybody could hear what was going on, then that's fine. I want to hear more.
Let
content.
me go back to number one is Tadej clean? Come on, Jake.
100% clean.
Are we
100%
Are we going to Disney World after this? Is
Sure.
Disney World real? Is WWE fighting real?
They'll test you there as well.
Interesting that Tadej pulled out of the Olympics and the Vuelta, or the Olympics where the doping control is a little more stringent.
Maybe it's
How
it's
so?
more stringent.
How so?
Well,
They,
I mean,
they drug test. That's the difference. That's the difference.
So you think that the UCI
There's not
is
handshakes from
letting-
the UCI, and they're like, okay, this no drug test. Okay, handshake, good, and we're good.
right.
It's. I mean, I don't find Tadej's. I find his performances very suspicious. But it's not just him. Like, holy smokes, Jonas coming out of the hospital. Holy smokes, that is
But this
weird.
this is the whole problem with suspecting that there's foul play here, because it would have to be on a large scale again, because it's not just Tadej who's putting in these extraordinary performances. It's all of those guys. It's the top 10 finishers are all putting down incredible numbers. So unless all of those guys and all of their team would have to be in on it, it would be like a mass scale cover up going on. So you would have to really,
which has
pull out-
happened.
That could be true.
Year after year after year. Like, all you have to do is look back at cycling history and be like, oh, it wasn't very well covered up at all. Everybody knew about it, and it was just like a hush hush subject. Yeah. I don't think we're living in this brand new world where we've got clean riders and they happen to be breaking all of these records on all of these climbs.
But there are other ways to explain those incredible numbers. I mean,
I hear this all the time. Nutrition is better. Training is better.
Mm-hmm.
We know more about blah blah blah. Bullshit. That is bullshit. I'm sorry. I hate to break. So we know so much more about nutrition that we can perform better than when we were doped to our gills on EPO and crack cocaine and all this stuff. I don't think so.
They weren't testing then, though. They weren't testing.
They couldn't test
well,
EPO.
at
They
the
didn't
point
have
in
a
time,
test for it.
When Armstrong was doing it, he was paying off certain people in the UCI, and you have to think that they're not going to let that happen again.
Yes,
they're
not going to let it happen again.
What's going to happen is
let it happen again.
If they're cheating
Jake,
and
come on,
something's
man.
happening, it's going to come out again, and that's going to be the final nail in the sport of bike racing. If they find out that these guys
If there was going to be a final nail in the sport of cycling, wouldn't it have happened when you have the Tour de France winner that won 7 times, tells people like shut up or we'll kill you, like all kinds of horrible things that he did, and then gets busted and comes out on Oprah and says, I'm sorry guys, blah 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 blah. That should have been the nail in the coffin for the sport. And here we are, still have a podcast about the sport that we also find riveting enough to sit down, like go every morning and watch, for 3 weeks in a row. I just don't think that the sport, just because the sport is on drugs doesn't mean that it's less interesting. It's unfortunate that drugs are so pervasive in this sport, but it is what it is.
I still stand by my.
You think
my
he's clean?
statement. I think
Good.
he's clean. Now
That was 3 questions. There was another one in there.
Hold on a
somewhere.
second. They're being tested almost daily during the tour.
The stage winners were always tested, and they randomly picked like another 20 people at every stage
Yeah,
to test.
I also think that my theory is, and I think Evan Price has probably talked about this. He and I both have this concept of like that there's genetic modifications going on at this point.
Okay, so
Which
is
is
there
untestable.
Right.
Well, I mean, actually, I say it's
CRISPR stuff?
untestable. I don't think it's necessarily. I don't know how it's implemented specifically, but I do think that they could test for it, because some of the things that I think that they're doing, any piece of DNA that you get would be flagged with this like adjustment that's been done. So I don't even know if testing would be that hard if they were looking for it. But if they're telling athletes, here's what we're looking for, and that's not on there, I mean, and it's not even is it against the rules? It probably isn't. So again, maybe that wouldn't fall into this particular thing where it's like, are they going to do everything that's possible that's not breaking the rules?
So, yeah,
there's other things too. Like, have you read about this? Like breathing in CO2, certain things. It's basically like kind of does the same thing as EPO.
It's a test that
Oh,
they
carbon
use to
monoxide, is that what it was?
it's a test that they use to find out how their altitude training is going. It's just a test, and they're saying that it's a way to determine how they're acclimating, that it's not actually performance enhancing. So I mean,
but if they flip a switch with the same machine, they can do something that is performance enhancing, right?
Potentially.
And they were doing something else where you could breathe something else a couple years ago. It's been, I don't remember.
I can't believe that they would still be doing the same drugs. I mean, surely the EPO
there's
wave
people
is
that
gone.
are,
right?
that are still getting popped for that stuff. There was somebody from EF just got popped for that, like what, a month or
For
two ago?
EPO?
Yeah, or something along
That's
those
just
lines.
a really
But
good drug.
if you win,
It works.
if
It
you
works.
if you cross the finish line first on 6 separate occasions and you absolutely get tested for EPO on each one, how do you? I don't know. Maybe I'm just being naive, but do you? Can you? Is there a way to mask that to get? Oh,
You know what? They say that the developers are always like several steps ahead of the testers. So who knows? I mean, but
I'm with you. I'm choosing to believe this time, and again, maybe it's being naive, but you've got to think that the advances in training, the advances in nutrition, must count for something. I mean, these scientific methods, these ways of increasing your athletic performance cleanly, they've got to stand for something. Otherwise, it would still be, just doing long, steady distance like they were doing in Merckx's time in the 70s.
go jump on Pantani's bike from 1989 and then jump on Tadej's Colnago from the tour. There is such a massive difference between those bikes, the way that they ride, the way that they perform, the way that they climb.
True, but I think that's a separate subject because
That's another
because
reason.
you're looking at what I'm looking at is Tadej's sort of 6.8 watts per kilo up a climb, and that's equipment independent, right?
You just put him on
Right.
good equipment. He's just going to go that fast.
Fast, yeah, but in just being able to put out those numbers is remarkable.
Well, you've got the likes of a Lance Armstrong that's like, hey, Tadej, you might want to back it off there, buddy. You shouldn't be like showboating or like showing how much you got underneath the hood. Don't win by this much. Just make it a little bit closer for kind of a thing. And my response to that is, well, yeah, that was you in your day and age. And that's the way that you needed to perform. And you were getting calls from Dr. Ferrari saying you screwed up, you went too hard, and you showed people stuff. Versus Tadej's like, I'm clean. I'm going to go fast. This is what I got. Come at me, bro. Kind of a thing. So, I mean,
It amazes me that Armstrong still has
if
a
he's
voice
gonna,
in all of this.
it's not showboating. Maybe it is a little bit of showboating, but if you're going to go that hard and you're going to show everybody that you are that superior, that much superior, you're leaving yourself subject to being ridiculed, and that's what people are doing. But you also, like, people are going to take note and say, we need to test that guy. And when they take when they test him, is it just urine? Are they taking blood? Are they taking hair? Or are they taking all of them? They hold on to that stuff, and they can come back and test it in time. So, like, if you're
They
cheating,
could come back and test it in time. They don't.
I was under the impression that they saved samples for a certain amount of time.
No, they should change the rule and be like, we're going to test this in 4 years with more modern technology. Are you sure? But they don't have that rule in place. I would love to see that.
Are you positive about that? Because I was under the impression that they did hold on to stuff for a certain amount of time.
I would love it if they did.
Yeah, because I think I recall.
I think they have to get everyone to sign on board for those new rules.
And if you're a pro cyclist, you're part of the pro peloton, and they're going to say we're trying to implement even stricter drug policies, I think that everybody should sign on to that, and nobody should be saying no.
Should sign on to that. Teams should sign on to that. That would be great if we lived in that world.
Well,
Blood and urine and pre-race blood samples.
and does it say if they hold on to it for any particular amount of time?
No.
That's the $1 million question. Because if they're just, all right, we're going to take this, we're going to test it, and 48 hours or a couple weeks later, it's disposed of. That doesn't really do us a whole heck of a lot of good. I don't know if they can.
It'd be great if they could go back and test like Greg LeMond's blood.
Sure.
Right. How cool would that be?
I think it's true that what you said is that cycling could not survive a second huge scandal after the Armstrong years. And I think all the riders are aware of that.
Yeah.
Like, if there's a lot more at stake right now.
Wait, the Lance Armstrong was not the first big scandal. The first big scandal was before Lance Armstrong.
Yeah.
Well before. It was basically right before he started winning. Was like that whole team, that whole French team that went down, right? So could it survive? I think it can and has survived more than two major critical problems. I don't know what the best way to describe it, scandals. But yeah, I think, we're due for another scandal. It's been enough time for another big scandal.
It took 20 years. Well, maybe not quite that much, but it's been 20 years since Lance Armstrong was winning Tour de France.
2005 was his last.
Yeah.
So it took a long time for people to have trust in the sport again, for the population of people to say, all right, these guys are clean, and riders to stand up and vow that they're going to stay clean. And
I don't think it took 20 years for people to come around and trust the sport again. I think it's 20 years for guys like us to be like, we want to believe again after being burned so badly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still stand behind that he's clean, and I think he knows it.
You think Tadej Pogačar is clean?
Yeah. Now the other question is he doing something that's gray,
Magical.
that's not illegal, that's maybe not known of? I can't speak to that because you never know where they're at with science.
Like genetic modification.
Yeah.
Well, and that's I'm curious if that's in the rules anywhere. I would think it would be. I just don't know. I don't know the rules.
If they're
well
doing
enough.
stuff that's not in the rules, that nowhere does it say you cannot do this. Does that make me happy? No. Is
It's
that
fair
happening?
game.
It could be.
Yeah.
But I guess that, like I said earlier,
Again, it would be Tadej, all his teammates, all the team directors, the Soniors, Tadej's coaches. Everybody would be in on it. So,
everyone.
So
and it just
what
takes
you're
one person
saying
getting
is-
pissed off and leaving and being the whistleblower. I mean,
But I bet you if we look up some old ex-girlfriend of Tadej claims this, I'm sure there's things out there that claims that have been ignored or whatever.
so
As far as him winning another 20 editions in the next
that's
4
the other
years,
question.
It's possible.
I'm saying before, I'm thinking it will happen in the next 4 to 5 years, I think, but in the rest of his career. So he's
because
20, 5 or 6
young,
now?
So I can't change your mind on that.
I
I think there's going to be editions where he's not the strongest. I think there's going to be editions where he crashes out. So it's a tall order. It'll be close if he can achieve that in his racing. And also, he's been burning so hot, so young. Is he going to be
Right.
still racing at 38, 39 years old? Is he
Great
gonna,
question.
Well,
That's
that's the thing. He's
Pretty unheard of.
25 right now or 26.
He's
So-
25.
So
Yeah.
let's say he's 25. Does he turn 26 this year, or does he already?
Yeah, I think.
Well, regardless, let's say even if he is going to be 26 this year, give him 6 more years. That takes him to 32. That's when Geraint Thomas won his first Tour de
Yeah.
France. So there's nothing saying that he can't have some staying power. So if you give him another 6, 7, 8 years to get that done, and I think that it's going to happen in 5.
I think it's
he
unlikely.
turns 26 this year.
Okay.
In September.
Trying to change your mind, I think it's unlikely. I think Cavendish, if you look at him as the example, he had the longest, ridiculously long career when he should have been retired 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And he won green in that freak year,
Won 4 stages.
which is just so
he's just
wild.
got to remain the strongest, or
which
a-
is a
amongst
pretty
the
tall,
strongest.
It's a
But
pretty tall order.
I would argue that what Cavendish did was in some ways more remarkable
Yes.
because as a sprinter, normally your peak performance years are way shorter
3
than
years.
3
You
4
kind of have,
years.
when you're dominant, you kind of have more opportunities, generally speaking, than a typical yellow jersey winner. And I do think that Tadej was different this year. I don't think he's going to win 6 stages every year.
No, but
Especially
also
when Jonas is healthy and strong, he may, Tadej may win 0 stages. So I don't think he'll get the record, and
I don't think
especially not in 5 or 6 years.
I don't think there's any way that Tadej gets the record. It's too many years he has to be on top,
Yeah.
and he just won't be on top. You can't win 5 stages.
How many stages
5
did he
years
win
in a
last
row.
year?
He won
Like 1?
1 or 2, but he won 6 stages of the Vuelta, and then he won 6 stages of the Tour. So this year, oh my gosh, pretty incredible. But can you stay on top for 10 years like that? No way.
Depends on the
Stuff will
drugs.
happen.
Depends
He'll-
on the drugs, Lance.
Right. It depends on his genetic modification. And it
Yes.
depends on what if he has kids? What if he gets bored of
Winning.
or not winning, but like, I'm going to try mountain biking. I'm going to try something else
Triathlon.
because, yeah, right. No. No, I just think for him to stay on top for 10 more years to actually get this record is crazy. Is really remote.
Yeah.
But if he gets close, he's already said no. He hasn't.
No, I think
he hasn't said. But
Cavendish looked over and said, "Don't break my record."
Yeah,
and
he
was
said,
"Don't
"I
worry,
won't."
I won't.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I won't."
Yeah.
But yeah. That's
famous
funny.
last words right there. He absolutely wants to break that record.
Yes.
And if
sure.
you're
I
telling me
agree.
that he can't average 2 stage wins for the next 10 years,
10 years is a long time. He might.
I
be
don't think he
retired.
needs 10 years, though. I think he can get it done in half that time if he really wants to.
If he really wins 6 stages in every tour for the next couple, I mean, then sure, yeah, then we start
I'm not
talking
saying
about it. But then
6, but he just needs to win 20. So over the next 5 years, if he averages 4 stages a year, that's a tall order.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
But that's fully
good.
reasonable.
Let's do the same question this time next year after the next edition of the tour. See how dominant he is in 2025.
I think if Jonas is healthy,
Right,
and
exactly,
it's a real race if they're both healthy. And man, it'd be a lot less boring of a tour. Back to my hot seat question, but I don't think that Tadej wins 6 stages when they're both healthy. And what are there's always a chance that Tadej's going to go in with a broken wrist or a crash, or I mean, these guys they ride their TT bikes into buses. Like this crazy, horrible stuff happens in this sport all the time.
Yeah.
It's almost more remarkable when they get to the tour or through a tour without having a major crash or a major problem. Like to me, I'm like, wow. And Lance Armstrong, maybe that's a horrible example, but like, how did he win 7 of those?
He only focused on that race.
And it was weird that he didn't have a ton of crashes or issues, like weird broken pedals and things like that. But still, he was. I think he was lucky in a lot of ways to stay healthy that long. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a long shot.
He won 2 stages in
last year,
2023.
Okay,
16 down, 20 to go, boys.
There
we go.
The bet is on. Are we betting a beer?
Yeah. I'll bet you a beer. Yeah.
Bet. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Wait. Can we give it?
I'll drink a beer if he.
What's the deadline?
breaks the record.
What's the deadline? Are we putting on this? You said 5 years.
Well, I just said in the balance of his career, he's going to do it. I think it's going to happen in like 5 to 6 years.
Okay. Well, let's put something on the calendar for 2030.
So that means we got to do this for the next 5 or 6 years.
Let's give you a 7-year buffer on 2030 if he doesn't have this record.
All right, we're not allowed to stop doing the podcast until Tadej.
Beers are on Jake.
Exactly.
That's gonna be
retires.
it's gonna be a cold, tasty beer.
On your on the first statement you made for the radios,
Yeah.
I would argue that that's one thing that's not going to happen. The radios are here to stay.
There's already whispers that it might happen.
They tried it, I think it was 2 years ago. They said there was going to be a stage with no radios, and the Riders Union protested and said, we're not going to do that. Yeah. That's a non-starter. And I think
I think the Riders Union,
professional Riders Union have got some clout. I mean, especially when it comes to safety issues, who's going to override them? And if the riders make the argument that we need radios to keep the race safe, who's going to argue against that?
Don't you think that Riders Union has been a good thing for the sport?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think so too.
The UCI is already testing it in a couple races where they only allow 2 riders per team to have a radio. Your captain, and one other person. And the other 6 riders on the team don't have radios.
Okay, why can't we just have one person broadcasting to everybody what's going on up the road?
I think they're right. But then you can't say, hey, I'm out of water. I need a bottle. I don't know.
The riders will never go for it.
No, I don't think so.
Well, how does that change though? You're going to send somebody back anyway.
Yeah, but like
this is another. By the way, this is another major reason why these races are getting so much faster. Because, back in the day, back in the 80s and 90s, the riders had very limited idea of what was going on in the race. They had the motorcycles with the chalkboards and so on. But when now you've got actual team directors telling you when to push hard and when to go and when to hold back.
You've got the whole
changes
Visma
everything.
Lisa bike, their whole box truck that's full of all of the video feeds and the cameras and
Did you guys see they were like not allowed in the to be a part of the tour? Like they weren't allowed to take that box truck and drive around through the.
No, they weren't. No, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like we lose a little bit of the excitement of the race. Like almost too calculated. It's too easy to
Do you guys think that the race directors were like, okay, Tadej, knowing your numbers, we think you can catch Mateo if you go now?
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
gosh, that was
Yep.
like
That's exactly- they're crunching
like
numbers.
12 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Like, dang. I mean, the sprinters know how to do that, right? Like to
Yes.
catch a break. But like that's always been the case for years. I just don't know how you could do that on a climb when you're chasing Matteo Jorgensen, right? And you're like, he's good. Like this is going to be down to the wire. And are they doing that on purpose so it's close, or is Tadej just taking a chance? I don't know.
I mean, they have the ability to regulate what's broadcast and what's not, and who can transmit and who can't. You could, if the commissars are monitoring all the radios, and if you get an infringement on that, it's just like seeing breaking a different type of rule out on the road. So there's room in there to regulate the transmissions, but I don't think they'll ever be racing without radios. That's just not going to happen.
Well, if they're going to stick to it, I think they need to make it accessible for people to listen in on.
Yeah,
Okay, Jake,
maybe.
reread your things again and tell us if we changed your mind on any of them. This is a hot seat question.
Tadej's 100% clean. You did not change my mind.
Okay.
Tadej's going to pass Cavendish for the overall number of stage victories. That will happen. You did not change my mind.
Beer's bet on that one.
My last one was
We're gonna have a beer
Radios-
when
radio-
Cav gets when Tadej gets busted for drugs. We're having beers.
radios need to be removed from bike racing. And my thought process there is we need to make this a little bit more organic. We need to let things unfold a little bit more naturally and not have it be so freaking calculated that, like you said, the tours can become boring. If those radios were opened up for us to listen to,
Could be fun.
that could be fun. I would really love nothing more than to see power numbers displayed. That would be fantastic. I would love to see, like, we've got the tiniest little cameras now. I would love to see more footage, onboard cameras on people's bikes. So, like, if every bike had the same camera, and we know that they can make these bikes, like, they actually sometimes have to add weight to the bikes because they're under the weight. So why don't we just factor in having a front and rear facing camera so we can see everything going on, just to get even more immersed in the actual bike racing and see what's going on? That'd be fantastic.
To Ian's point, I think the Riders Union will veto a lot of stuff. Like you start to throw interesting stuff in there, and they're like, "No, I don't want my power numbers. I don't want that shown." They would veto that. Do we want cameras on board? Like they might. I feel like the riders actually kind of are surprisingly are okay with that. Which is weird.
There were 15 or 20 cameras on people's bikes on every stage this year.
Yeah.
The just the square
GoPro.
Yeah. The lightest one.
The last one I could probably be convinced to keep
drop.
radios, but I would like to see it be a little bit more open broadcast so that we can hear what's going on and maybe not be so, I don't know, like if they're going to be telling people, like, in their back, they're crunching numbers and they're looking at every last little minute detail and telling people when to go. I would like to see that kind of stuff. I'd like to see it be a little bit more organic. If we can hear that'd be cool. And then if they're going to play that live for everybody to listen to in the live broadcast and the other teams pick up on that, then it'd be kind of neat to say, oh, he's going to go now. You got to watch out.
It feels organic with Tadej. It either feels organic or he tells the peloton, "I'm going to go at this point."
Calls
It's
the shot.
pretty cool.
Calls a shot, and
I mean,
still people can't go.
It's ridiculous but awesome.
Well, he
to
did
watch.
that in the spring. He told people I
I'm
can't
going
remember
with
which
like
was
55K to go.
Stradic Yankee.
Yeah, and he left. Nobody saw him again. See ya. So,
It's ridiculous.
Freak.
all right, good stuff.
Good times.
Fun.
Can't wait to
that
drink
was a good
those
conversation.
beers.
That
Can't
was
wait to drink those
feisty.
beers. Feisty.
All right, yeah, good beers. All right, let's get into one last thing. Matt, you always kick us off. You want to start?
I posted a video this past week, and it was something that I worked really hard on. I actually took like I usually do like one video per week, and so I missed a couple weeks to get this like video the way I wanted to, and I almost killed it because there's a very similar video posted as I was editing this one. I was like, dang it. And I took like a whole day and I was like, I should just do something different. Anyway, posted this video about the cleanliness of the Seine River in Paris, France, before going into the Paris Olympics with open water swimming and triathlon that are supposed to like be partaken in the Seine River. And the water quality being very questionable and having been very questionable for 100 years. Mm-hmm. It's been 100 years since they've legally allowed people to swim in the water. And the reason is because it's basically connected to, in some ways, it's connected to the Paris sewer system. Oh, geez. Super interesting. In fact, back in the 70s, about 60% of all sewage of the city went untreated directly into the river.
Wow.
And so they had very few fish. They had very few like wildlife. I mean, it was just really pretty rough. And the water quality has gotten better, of course, since the 70s. But it's still, in February, it was 20 times the legal limit for being allowed to swim in the water. 20 times. Jesus. And that's the European standards. The US standards, it was, I'm trying to think of like exactly what the numbers are, closer to like 200 times the limits that we set for the United States.
Wow. And
it's a lot of human excrement that's in the water. It's because the bacteria that they're testing for are E. coli and another one that are, they use those numbers as like indicative of fecal material in the water. And so it's pretty bad.
So the triathlons and all the long distance swimming events, those are happening in the Seine.
Yeah. So when Ethan and I were there in December, like we are looking at this water and we're like, "Ew, yuck, this is gross water."
Does it smell when you're there?
It doesn't have a good smell.
Okay.
But
if there's a big rainstorm and the sewers overflow,
exactly.
boom, it's
bad.
like downtown Portland.
Yeah. And so and it's not unusual to these cities that have been around for a long time. But yeah, the whole water system, it's like the human sewage and the street runoff all go into the same like treatment water. And so if it floods, if you have big rains, you're either going to get the streets flooded with poop, or they're going to, turn that towards the river and it's going to go into the river. And so the lesser of two evils are to send it into the river, which they've been doing forever, right? And the expectation that people are just going to swim in this thing are a little crazy. And so what Paris has done is they built this huge underground water basin piece where they can basically say, like, if it rains hard, we can direct water into this huge basin and collect it there and then slowly treat it before we send it out. And that will work up to a point. I mean, it's like you have this massive thing, but when it rains, it's a lot of water.
Yeah.
And so no matter what we build, it's like that might help a little bit, but eventually it goes into the river. There was they're testing the water all the time. And this is in the video, is like the actual numbers for all of these tests and the locations where they test this stuff. It was this really cool video that I'm very proud of. And they test in like 4 locations, and you can see it's like, well, now we're only double the legal limit. And then like, oh, it rained. Here's a big spike where we're 10 times the legal limit. And then it comes back down to like double the legal limit. And it's all questionable. It's like, I wouldn't want to swim in that water.
If you're an Olympic athlete,
you swim in the water. You don't. Yeah.
Would you go? Would you swim in it? Yeah.
Oh, if I get to do the Olympics, yeah. I mean,
you just do it.
How many of them are going to get sick afterwards, do you think?
I'm guessing that will be, maybe. I'm guessing it'll be okay. There's 2 things that I think could happen. I think that one, the city funded water treatment tests that are going on could fudge the numbers and be like, our water's perfect. We don't know what you're talking about. A lot of times I find when money gets into these, like who's paying for these tests is a very important like aspect to the tests being independent, which I don't know that they are. But then the other side of it is that the summertime there's less rain. There is some rain in the forecast, but it should be better, and they've worked hard on it. So I think it'll probably be. I wouldn't be surprised if a person or 2 got sick. The mayor of Paris did swim in the water. It was like one of her big things. She's like, I'm going to swim in the water before the Olympics. And she kept putting off the date and kept putting off the date. In fact, in Paris, they had this like, they were going to have, she was supposed to swim in like June 28th. She was supposed to go swim in the water. It's like a big like show of how clean the water is. And the people of Paris created this app of when they should poop in the water to where the poop would hit her.
They had all these flow charts, and it would tell you exactly when you need to do it based on where your proximity was.
Yeah, it's like if you want to poop here or here, you do it at this time so that it hits the mayor. And it was like the poop protest is what they had.
That's incredible.
So the whole thing's kind of crazy, and I made a video about it, and it's only like a 10-minute video, but
That's doing well too. It's got over 10,000 views.
yeah, it was a slow. I was hoping that this would be a popular video, and it's not been as popular as I had hoped, but it's something that I did work hard on.
I think
so.
as we get closer, that will
see.
come up, and I think there'll
maybe.
be some searching in there, and you'll probably see some better numbers.
We'll see.
Still good viewership.
People from the podcast should check it out.
They should. And they should subscribe too, because
And
Matt's
you
about
should
ready to go over 30K.
That's right.
Yeah.
Be the 30,000th subscriber.
What do they win if they do? Do you get notified if
high
that
five.
person?
They win a high five.
Sweet. Maybe a sticker.
A real tall high five. We could do stickers.
All right. Ian, you got one last thing for us?
Oh, follow that. I don't know.
Stuff.
I'll be brief.
Follow Paris Poop. Poop
Yeah,
talk.
Paris
Can
Poop.
you poop? That's been Poop talk.
Matt pooped in your river. It's going to hit you right about
Yeah.
now.
What I was going to do is, it's been a few weeks since I had last shamelessly plugged
Oh, yeah.
our Dialed Cycling very own coaching program. Cross is coming, right?
Cross is
We're
coming.
only, I think, 5 weeks out from the cyclocross season.
Yeah, that sounds
So
all right.
I think there's a lot of guys out there that have not been racing road bikes, gravel bikes, mountain bikes the last few months, where the rest of us have been exposing ourselves to that kind of intense riding. You know, there's a lot of people have
You've been exposing yourself? Is that what you're saying?
right.
I'm just,
As soon as I said that, I knew somebody was
some jackass would
some
say
jackass.
something. Yep, you're right.
There's a lot of people just been doing some basically recreational riding, then they're going to jump straight into cyclocross season. So I am saying it's good value to
Get a coach.
get a coach.
Yeah.
It's very reasonable. Yeah, I charge $195 for a month, and that is personalized, bespoke training program, and it's going to be focused on your event. So if you're a cyclocross racer and you have ambitions of doing well this upcoming season,
yeah.
Where
Can
in
they go
touch.
Now's
to
the
get in
time.
touch with you?
they can go to dialedperformancecoaching.com,
Nice.
Cool.
and that's where you can find me.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Yep.
My one last thing, I'm going to plug our friend Scott Schultz's race this weekend that I've already talked about. Washougal short track on Saturday, and then Washougal cross country mountain bike race on Sunday. It is the final race in the Oregon XC series. I am battling for the win with a teammate, so we are going to line up and just drill each other.
Terry?
That sounded bad.
This is a weird
That's
podcast.
another entendre.
Todd Edwards.
Oh, okay.
Double
Are you
entendre.
going to make a comment about his drilling each
No.
other?
No. Lance, no
Okay.
pants. Lance, no pants. Of course not.
Yeah, so
That's what
good
she
times
said.
coming.
Excuse me. That's what she said.
That's a good one.
That's it.
That's it.
Jake,
Yeah.
you got any one last things?
I do. I've got two one last things because
That's what you do when it's
well,
one
one
last
of them's
thing.
for the podcast. There's been a lot of people that listen to the podcast, a lot of people in the cycling community, and just a lot of people in general that have been supporting to the GoFundMe for Kino Day, who was hit by
Ken.
a car on the 4th of July. And we are almost at $25,000, which is absolutely incredible. And that's going to go so far to help out Ken and his family because he's got such a long road to recovery. Just wanted to say thank you to everybody that has jumped on. The GoFundMe is still alive. If you want to go kick in a couple bucks or whatever, that would be fantastic. The other one last thing, my personal one last thing is I just wanted to say a happy anniversary to my wife.
Oh, yeah.
And thank her for putting up with me for 20 years now. And
Does she actually
20
listen to
years.
this crap?
20 years?
No.
she used to listen. I don't know when the last time she listened was, but she may or may not hear this, but just wanted to say thanks for putting up with me.
She walked by about 10 minutes ago and glared at me, so I'm guessing we're overstepping our welcome today.
I know. Yeah. This is glad you're
did-
spending your anniversary. with
I'm
us.
joking. She did not glare at me if you're listening. Rebecca.
No, she's cool. She's super supportive and has always been super supportive of all the things I've done and has given me a very long leash. So thank you. I appreciate that. So cool. Anything else, boys?
That's it.
Let's go for a bike ride.
Let's
Wanna
go ride bikes.
I think
Let's
I'm
go.
going to take the rest of the day off and go for a bike ride before going for a stand-up paddleboard with my wife and
Oh,
going out to
wow.
dinner.
That's an awesome date.
So let's go do this. All right. Thank you for listening. We will be back next week with another one of these. And until then, bye for now.
True love is like peeing yourself. Everyone can see it, but only you can feel its true warmth.